vibrant, vibrant in every atom. O hidden light, shining in every creature. O hidden love, embracing all in oneness. May each who feels himself as one with thee know he's also one with every other. So before beginning, we'll give Professor Rai a brief introduction. He is an MSc in zoology. He has a PhD from the Gorakhpur University. For 44 years, he guided, taught undergraduate and postgraduate students. He has done research at UGC and CSRI in developmental ecology. He's a member of the Gorakhpur Lodge. He's been a secretary there as well as the executive committee member of UP and Uttarakhand Federation. So before beginning, this is just Jal Hi Jeevan Hai, as he was talking the last time. So let us now see how Jal in celestial bodies affect us. Welcome, sir. Please continue. Sir, you can start.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. It's a great pleasure to be all with you. And I welcome all my brothers and sisters who have come here to listen to the lecture and who in fact are the path of that spiritual journey where we have to ultimately go for the eternal bliss that is for the Sachidanand. Welcome you once again. Friends, on 18th of August last month, I discussed about the human endeavors or a human excessive role to, that is a terrestrial role which has hampered our water system. I will not be out of place to mention that the Earth, which is one among the 9 planets, is also called as water planet because it is predominated, almost 71% of the total area is dominated by the water body. However, the 97% of it is a marine water or a sea water, hardly for our use, that is day-to-day use, except for certain mining or certain trade business or maybe fishing, etc. Then the remaining 3% of the water body is for our use. And that too, 2% of it is in the form of snow or in the form of the glaciers situated either at the Arctic or an Arctic region. But now the question arises is the 1% of the water which is used for all the biosphere. When I talk about the biosphere, I don't only mean the human being, but it is also for the animals, for all the plants, for all the microorganisms, and so on and so forth. So this 1% of the water body, apart from getting polluted, and apart from the human thrust, that is the population thrust, it has come to a case of chaos. And this chaotic stages is the region for all the part of the crisis. Now, this 1% of the water body is in the 2 forms. One, either a stagnant water body as a pond or lake, or one other is a running water body. The running water body and stagnant water body, or even underground water body, or the water body present in the atmosphere too, are all being used in one or the other form. However, when you come to this point, we come to know that a man's basic requirement per day is 50 liters of the water per person per day. That is the basic minimum requirement. And that is, even that is not available to us. The availability of the water body, as I told last time, in the 1857 survey, there was about 43,000 cubic meter of the water body per person for the use for the per person per year. But now in the survey in the 2020 has come, it has gone to almost 1,000 cubic meter per person per year. And that too unequally distributed in the New Zealand and the Canada, one considered as the southern hemisphere, the other as the northern hemisphere. There the water, that the percentage of water given is about 1 lakh cubic meter per person per year. But when you come to a drought region, when you come to the region uh, like Kenya or like Eastern, that is African region, or even the certain country of the Latin America, the water scarcity is there. And there the water, that is availability of the water body, is hardly 400 to 500 cubic meter per person per year. This is scarcity of the water body, and the effort made by, that is what we have polluted to by the rapid agriculture, etc., has created a menace. We thought that it would be fulfilled by the celestial ray or by the system, but because of our interaction in the water body, because of the that is not sustainable development, it is causing chaos. And this chaos, I will not be out of place to mention, for the 20th century, a survey has been made, and the survey says that who is the best and who should be considered the prime researcher, or whose contribution should be considered best. Newton came that way, followed by the Einstein, and then by the Darwin and the Mendel, the father of genetics. But when I consider one person more is a Norman Boulon, because India is the country with short of food. Even during my student days, there was 50% of the people were without food for one evening or the other evening. And we always exported too. I won't be out of place to mention that even when the India got independence, Gandhiji was at Navakoli, and when he was and in order to bring the communal harmony, and when he was offered a sweet, he said, "How can I take a sweet when half of my population is hunger and without it?" This is not the independence. But this gentleman, Norman Boulon, and in India, M.S. Swaminathan, who has been recently awarded the Bharat Ratna, made a tremendous change. They have brought hybrid varieties, and with the hybrid varieties, the production, the yield has increased to an extent that India, from an import country, has become an exporter of the agriculture goods, including grains. Now, when we have become exporter to the agriculture goods, then a quantum physics, and who has done a great research in the biophysics, that is Padmana Shiva, and she, Bandana Shiva, who that is a biophysicist who has done it. He says that it has been a tremendous stress on the human and the human population, by using excessive water, because these hybrid varieties needs a tremendous amount of water, and this tremendous amount of water also need large number of fertilizer and pesticide to sustain it. This is the reason that this pesticide and the fertilizer, when it went back to the water body, it damaged it. It not only damaged it, polluted and contaminated the water source, which was only 1% to our use. Hence, even Prime Minister today do not advocate. And not only that, the use of the pesticide has come to an extent that even the human system or the mother milk do contain certain part of the pesticide, injurious to it, the large number of the diseases are also caused up. The use of so much of water for the hybrid maintenance is one of the curse, and that is why Bandana Shiva, Ameda Patekar refused to it. And even today, Modi ji speak that we should avoid that. We should go for the millet and the whole grain, and should go for the organic feeding. The point is, because of the water scarcity. I will not be out of place to mention the other work, Professor Andrew Watson, in his great paper, Journal of Geophysics. He explained that the amount of water used by the developed country India, world need at least 3 such earth or resource of the water supply, including, I mean, resource and the water, to sustain this population. He clearly pointed out that even 1 ton of the paper requires 7,000 gallons of water to make it. One computer requires about 42,000 gallons of water to make it. So this type of technology has also put a stress, and this is stress on the availability of 1% of the water. And that is why most of the leaders, including our Prime Minister, including our late Prime Minister Bihari Vajpayee, has once said that the cause of the Third World War would be no other but because of the water, the scarcity of the water. Now the question arises, then what should we do? Even what the Nehru called the development of the modern India by forming dams or other such things has proved to be fatal, has proved to be not a very effective technology to be adopted, because a dam not only cause flooding and so many, I have discussed it in great detail in the first factor. So all those process by which we were trying to utilize the water has to be changed and has to be get into a minimum so that we can do it. Now the question arises, are only the human endeavor which has making this impossible? No. In the recent past, the celestial, that is the divine benevolence to us has also been changed. How? I would like to explain it. How does the celestial body now is affecting our water system and is causing more damages? The water is causing more menace than relief to the large population. For which I would like to share a question. The first question arises in the mind is, what and how the celestial thing or divinity is linked to us in controlling the resources, especially the water, from the celestial regions of that is from the universal parts. To this, the question arises. Then the question arises: how to solve it? Madam Blavatsky, who has been the founder of Theosophical Society, in his most of the writing has pointed out a way or means by which we are linked to the celestial world. She says that we are the essence of God. And this essence of God, hence we are the relation like a father and son. This essence of God to ascend from the celestial body to our system. How does it comes to? It comes to the God ascent comes down to us in 5 stages of the consciousness. That is the reason of the transformation or the development of the system, the universe, or including the body. The first is Adi or a Satyalok. Satyalok, Adilok or the Satyalok, and Anupradat or that is called as Tapolok, are the divine place from where the manifestations are made. How? There is a periodicity that there are 2 phases, the phases of Pralay and phases of Manvantar. The Pralay phase is the phase of preparation, the preparation and which the Adi and Anupadak stage, where they plan that they produces a monadic essence, which will leads into the transformation of the divine soul, that is the universal consciousness into a self consciousness. एक मिनट जरा सा आवाज कम कीजिए वहां तक चुप रहो consciousness. Now from those divine monadic essence down comes into a Janalok, that is the five tattvas by which our system or body is made. And as you know, they are Akash Tattva, they are Vayu Tattva, they are Agni Tattva, they are Jal Tattva, and then the Earth Tattva. The fourth Tattva, Jal Tattva, is again an important, that is the divine celestial Jal, and the Jal available in our system, available in our ecology, or that is in the on the Earth, on the terrestrial land, or on the biosphere. So what actually happened? The Janalok, the Akash Shakti, gets into the Mahalok. Mahalok is the Vayu Shakti. That is the Buddhic. Atmic gets into a Buddhic. Buddhic gets into the Manaslok. That is the Agni Tattva. Agni Tattva is a Swalok. A Swargalok gets into another lok. That is the Bhuvalok. It is called as a Kamalok or the astral lok, or it is also called as an emotional lok. It is where the physiology is being governed. That is why I explained how our body physiology in the mitochondria is controlled by this astral body. Then that is the Bhulok, that is the Jal Tattva. And then Jal Tattva get finally into a physical body or third body that is called as the Bhulok or Earthlok. So the universal consciousness in this form descended down from a very, very finer, subtler to a grosser region. That is from a Adik essence, that is monadic essence to this, has been beautifully explained by Madam. But now the problem is, I'm not going to get stuck to this point. I shall switch on to my problem, that how this celestial body plays into role. It is better explained again. These all, the consciousness from a higher level to the lower level comes through vibration, that is what called as a skanda. And skanda is again of the five types as explained in the theosophical literature. They are number one, the rupa, the physical attribute. The second is the vedana, the sensational brought by these elements. And vedana gets into a sangyan, that is developing of the astral index, that is the original essential material, that is getting back, that is getting the thread and getting the permanent atom attached to it for the further development. And then the sanskar, the mental impression, when mental impression finally gets into a thought faculty, that is the vijnan stage, that is the stage of the consciousness. Now the question arises, if by this vibration, the denser come to a subtler region, that is the consciousness, higher consciousness comes to the lower consciousness, what are the mechanisms, what are the forces that are used to bring down, has again been explained by Madam Levitsky, that is by three important upadhi, that is forces or a poet which is responsible to it. That is Karano Upanishad. That Karano Upanishad from the higher comes to the mental body, and from the mental body, it gets into the causal body, and from causal body, it Karno Upadhi again transferred it. The transferation of from the causal body to the astral body is by Sukshma Upadhi, and this Sukshma Upadhi makes the Sukshma structure, that is what we call as the astral body. That astral body is formed. And from this upadhi, that is from that vehicle, to in order to reach into the physical state, is called as a sthula upadhi. By these ways, the consciousness reaches back to us. Now, this consciousness, if it comes by certain amount of force, and it again, there are 7 types, because this manvantar, number of this manvantar is 7. So you see, there are 7 consciousness plays, and again, there are 7 creative forces that bring about the consciousness to the earth and the responsibility for all our activities. They are, the first is called as the monadic one, that is the root essence. The second is called as a radiant from the immutable darkness, a swa, that is called as swabhavat. And swabhavat later gets into Akash Tattva. That is the, now here is an Akash Tattva. That is that Akash Tattva, that is the invisible force which are responsible for making the 4 structure combined. Then it'll get into a Mula Prakriti. Mool Prakriti get into a Purush and Parvati, that is the matter and the force, that is energy, which get combined. And then it all is done by the seventh force, as they called as the Atma Vidya. So Theosophy explains how the celestial essence come back and govern ourselves, ourselves and our surrounding, this earth and a further generation in these following ways. Now, looking aside to the scientific side, let us go to the science, what science says. We very well know that the celestial body do affect our system. How do they affect our system? One we know is the moon. During a full moon, we understand that during a full moon, the tide comes, and not only tide comes, that is the trade starts. So full moon and a dark moon do help in the economic, not only economic problem, even large number of the animal, even in the human menstrual cycle is also depend on the lunar cycle. So most of the people during pregnancy or other period, they avoid you to move out, either in the full moon or when there are eclipses, solar or the lunar eclipse, to get out, because that changes the charges in the atmosphere and affect your hormonal regulation. So that is the one way by which the moon, we understand, moon governs our hormonal activities. And that is why during those periods, especially in the Vedic religion, certain abstain, people are abstain not to do certain thing or to do certain thing. Or so this is how the moon do play. But we do know that when we consider, let us say that we, instead of getting into a complete universe, let us restrict our top now to a small solar system. Solar has a 9 planets, is the scientific term. Have you ever imagined why only sun has, why only Earth has a life, no other planet possess any life? It is because of the certain protection provided to the Earth, not to the other. One of this protection is called as ozone layer at the stratosphere. I will explain you what the stratosphere means. Actually, the ozone layer do not permit the, the solar wave and the magnetic radiations or injurious radiation to penetrate into the topography, to penetrate into the environmental, that is Earth environment, and damage it. A depletion of by our chloroflow, by our activity, has caused large number of dermal disorders and rise in the temperature. It is also explained by the greenhouse gas effect. The greenhouse effect or the solar radiation is protected by, is very well protected by ozone, and that is no other planet has such covering. So the life cannot exist. The solar winds, the solar current, the solar radiation created from the sun are so injurious that it will not let you sustain the life or activity on any planet. So this is one of the reasons to do about it. So our Earth is provided by a protection called as an ozone layer. Not only protection, our Earth is also provided by a certain own electromagnetic waves that covers it. That electromagnetic field are also called as Van Allen belt. That Van Allen belt is a magnetic belt surrounding our Earth from all the sides, and this also protects it. Not only the Van Allen belt protects us, the solar wind, the magnetic field current derived from it, as well as the magnetic sphere, also encourage it. That the solar wind is the last covering which covers the Earth. It covers the Earth and do not permit the injurious thing to come back. They filter it and they brings only the thing which are beneficial to us, to the Earth. Now, for further, what actually happened? The Earth, where the life exists, is called, where the life exists, is called as the troposphere. Troposphere is divided into three parts. One is terrestrial, where the land where there exists, that is called as the terrestrial land or the lithosphere. Then there is a life in the water body, that is called as a hydrosphere. And the third life is also found in the air, is called as the atmosphere. So the life exists in the three strata. Life more predominant in the hydrosphere, large number from where the life originated. Then on the terrestrial land, that is on the land called as the lithosphere, and above is the atmosphere. Above that, this reaches the life on the land is only up till the 10 kilometers. Above that, there is a ozone layer. Ozone layer is situated almost at the 40 kilometers from the surface. And that area is called as the stratosphere. This stratosphere is an area by which prevents the injurious rays to penetrate into our Earth. Now, this area is further gets into a strong, there is a strong wind area that called as the mesosphere. It goes up to 80 kilometers, almost 90 kilometers. From where it starts, space. In fact, when we send out a satellite or rocket, whatever, to the space research, it goes almost to the 100 kilometers. And 100 kilometers, because of the gravitational pull between all the planets, there is no gravity present, and hence the weight is nothing. The mass multiplied by the gravity, mass m into g, mass multiplied by the gravity. Since the gravity is a zero, the mass is equivalent to the weight. So there is no weight, in fact. So there is no weight. Everything keeps on floating. And it is very interesting to know what are the item flows and how do they interfere in our system. So from this mesosphere, there is called as the ionosphere, which is about 500 kilometers above the strong wind area mesosphere. This ionosphere have a high radiation zone. The radiation zone keeps on reacting and forming subatomic particles, which I shall explain you later. And then there is, after about 1,600 kilometers above, is another area called as the exosphere or a thermosphere. The temperature are very high. Now, how do they happen? Actually, the distance between our sun and to the earth, those space area is called as a helisphere. This helisphere contains large number of things. I will not be out of mention, say about 2 million, when at the Jurassic period, Mesozoic era, Jurassic period, there were large reptiles called as a dinosaur. How did all dinosaurs disappear? One of the theory was that from this exosphere and from this strata of the ino and mesosphere, the asteroid bombard to the area, and asteroid bombard to the area and vanishes. It was so burning that the population of the dinosaurs vanished. When the population of the dinosaurs vanished, it is the theosophical literature also says that there were an island called as the Atlantic island, the Lumeteria were there, and those oil islands got destroyed because of this celestial action. So what are the things present during those area? In the center, where we are, there is a universe. Universe has number of galaxies. The galaxies there is the active galactic zones, nucleus. From this electric nuclear zone, there is another particle called as nebula and supernebula. These are the things which form. These are the dust which later developed into a star. The nebula and supernebula also have, that is space, heliosphere. We also have a nova and a supernova. Supernovas and novas are the things which form the white and the black dot. Then there are a charged empty space. How do the charged empty space come? Is from the radiation of the sun. charge empty space, then there is a radiation stage, then there are comet bullets all the time passing, very high speed comet bullet passing by. Electrical, then there is the space do contain an electrical and magnetic body charges. There are comets, there are meteoroids, there are asteroids, there are satellites, and there are 9 planets in our solar system. In fact, there are more than 140 such solar system in our galaxy called as the Milky, 140 billion solar system that is present in our galaxy called as the Milky Way. And then there are also white hole and black hole. So what actually happened and how does the life come into a being is from the burning of, it comes from the burning of, that is from the core of the sun. In the core of the sun, there is a continuous fusion and fission reaction. The fusion of the hydrogen ion forms helium, and helium ion is split. And this phenomena occur minimum to the 10,000 years to the 70,000 years, thereby producing enormous amount of energy. This enormous amount of energy is approximately about 15 million degrees centigrade. It produces the temperature of about 15 million degrees centigrade. This million degrees centigrade, after about 40, 50,000 years acting in the core, gets out into a radioactive zone. And this radioactive zone is slightly cooler to it. It contains about 2.5 million degrees centigrade. From 2.5 million degrees centigrade, it comes to the convection zone. And this convection zone is about 1.1. Then it's getting slightly cooler into it. You know the heat is transferred into 3 forms: by conduction, convection, and by radiation. So here the convection occurs. Radiation occurs from the core zone. That is how the light particles, that is how the radiation, that is how the charges from the core of the sun, it comes out to us to sustain our life or to bring a new life in the planet. This convection, when it comes to the outer surface, it forms the white structure called as a photosphere zone. And there the temperature immediately drops. It drops to what? Less than 0.2 million degrees centigrade. But it do contains large number of bubbles. Now I'm talking about a bubbles and gas. This bubble and gas passes from the solar system through a corona by a solar wind and wave, and it goes through the halosphere, that is a space between where Satyendra Bose has said much earlier that they react with the radioactive substance, producing a small bubble, smoothing a small thing, and that they are called as subatomic particle. And Einstein gave them the name of boson particle. It was later called as a God particle too. So these particles are the brick by which the atoms or the other basic electron, proton, and other things get into shape. So this reaches back to the corona, and corona is worked out because analysis of the corona tell you what type of the heat and temperature this year it is going. So wherever there is a solar eclipse, the scientists all around the world, the cosmonaut or astrologist watches there, and they watches, the astronomer watches there to see what the corona is producing, what amount the heat are there, what is the height of the flame, and what will it affect our system by controlling our weather, by controlling our tectonic movement. I'm talking only of the Earth tectonic movement or other celestial, which have brought about the modern, whatever the globe we see into existence. The Earth was not in this form earlier. It has been changing because of this celestial body from time immemorial. This has further been supported by the recent work. I will not be out of place to mention some of the Nobel Prize work, especially done by the Alan, John, and Anton. who got the Nobel Prize in 2022 of the physics, he explained about the entangled particle. Up till now, the Einstein said that the speed of the light is the maximum. Nothing is more than the speed of the light. But he explained that there are particles right in the active ANG zone, active nucleatic zone, that is the center from where the evolution has occurred. That is the sparking point. That is the main mother point from where it has come. That particle as well as has number of entangled particles. And from that particle, he spoke about the entangled particle. The universe have number of entangled particles, and they are situated billions of light years ago from each other. And these particles travel much faster than the sunlight. It is commercial, and it initially is not controlled by any absolute space or time. So this light is the light, this speed, that is entangled particle which move faster than light, brings about this brings about the consciousness mind. And this consciousness mind, what they observe, as the Thomson experiment says, the slit experiment, that if the light passes through the slit and there are no observers, the light passes as the wave. As soon as the observers are placed, the light, after passing from one slit, it gets into the particular form too, and it did form the image on the screen. Similarly, they say that these particles, they are faster than sunlight, and they are the irrespective, they move irrespective to time and space, and they are the thing what we observe, as the Veda says, as imaginal, is not actually the practical world, at what we are tuned to. So what we speak, the Manduk Upanishad also speak about subatomic particles. The Manduk Upanishad came up much years ago, hundred of years before, and they also explained about the subatomic particle. They are called as the dark yarn that travel much faster than the sunlight. So then, how does the light do take the shape? Is further got a Nobel Prize by the lady Annie L. Humer. She and her co-worker in the 2023 got a Nobel Prize for the experiment. The experiment they performed, they generated an auto-second pulse. Because these light, what we talk about the gold, when the light passes, when the solar wind passes to the electromagnetic field in our halosphere, this solar wind with the friction produces a small bubble which has a lifetime of a very little second. So they develop a device by which the second can be further divided into how many times? They can be further divided into much smaller time. They are divided into attosecond, which is 10 to the power minus 80 vibration per second. 10 to the power minus 80 vibration per second. That is also called as a 1/40 trillionth size. So that small period has been worked out. And what they said, the Einstein and the Higgs in their experiment, in their research, they have said that these elemental, when the rays passes out, it divides into, it forms two types of the basic structure. Fermions that later develop into the structure, and the energy is called as a boson. And Einstein gave this name with the respect to the Bose, Satyendra Bose, who has worked with the Einstein to develop that. The boson is an energy particle. And this fermion develops into a quartz which remains for a shorter time. And when quartz are arranged by, research is also been done in the Geneva by HLC, Heldon Large Collider, because that is the most complex instrument ever has been produced to form a universe in the lab, they also have come to the point to develop it. And it has been assisted by them. Now, how does these particles, the small particle, subatomic particle, or God particle get converted into atom, has again been worked out, and the 23 Nobel Prize of the Chemistry has been awarded by Alex I. Eximov and his team. Alex I. Eximov and his team succeeded in discovering and synthesizing a quantum dots, just a few thousand in number. What actually happened, this quantum dots has a very little type. If you do not have an attosecond to measure it, you cannot know it. And this quantum dot can be accumulated upon. This quantum dot can be accumulated just on the few thousand on a space called as a nanospace, on a nanometer. This nanometer, this nano quantum dots, these nano dots, when combined, stand at a place, one place, they form an atom. If more of the quantum number is provided to that scale, the melting point differs and the property of that particle changes. Clearly indicated that these accumulation of the nanoparticles, that what we called as, that is a quantum dot, is the basic trick for the formation of the different variety of elements, a diversification in the universe. So he clearly observed that the properties of the quantum dot changes, and that is the melting point of property of the chemical reaction also changes by the accumulation of the more quantum dots, and when the number of the quantum dot increases, or when the nature of the quantum dot gets changed. It refers to the large assimilation of the atom as well as the formation of the molecule. So what they have said in the theosophy or by the literature, which we know by the metaphysics, the psychomitosis, is now being proved by the science, by the noble work of 2023 and 22, by the great like Alan John and Aton, or by Emia L. Holizos, or by Alexei Elmore, etc. So this is how the science explains how the celestial body get converted into this body. Now coming down to the curses that has occurred, I will be explaining that. The over-exploitation of the natural resources and in judicious uses of the sources led to the various catastrophes. One of the catastrophe, the interaction of the nature, was COVID-19 of the recent past, is a living example. Some of the hazards come through the water menace too, and that too governed by the celestial body, such as the source forces that celestial forces bring about are: number one, floods; number one, landslides, which are very often these days; then cloud bursts. You have heard in the month of April only this year, a rainfall at where? Dubai, which experienced very little rain. 2 year rain was performed, that was poured only in 2 days, flooding all the area of Dubai. So why are these changes occurring? We have during our student days, when we were being taught the wettest place used to be a Cherrapunji. Now the students are taught that Cherrapunji is not the wettest place. It has shifted few hundred kilometers further, and it is now a Muzimra. Cherrapuri, in fact, in the 1990 or sometime, even experienced drought. The place which had the highest rain has experienced drought. However, I will explain the reason behind it. Then the hailstorm is there, thunderstorm is there, cyclone is there, which are all by the celestial, not by the human endeavors. And then tornadoes are there, tsunamis are there, and some of the snow acclimates are there. So these are the reasons. These are these are the conditions which are found over here. How these conditions are formed? Now, the nature controls disaster that exist substantially and constantly influences our human belief and can be rendered or can be controlled by the modern techniques called as AI, artificial intelligence. How they can be controlled by the remote sensing and by using the most of the data, accurate, comprehensive, spatial, and temporal information as geographical information system, which we call as geographic GGI, or global positioning system GPS, and other geo information technology, that is GIT. The disaster management through the remote sensing data are considered to be the important tool used not only for the monitoring natural resources and its assessment, but also controlling the national hazard. It also plays a very important role in reducing the risk of the life and the loss of the property. Now, now the question I have, what are the main water main menace which are by the celestial action? The first and the foremost I am going to tell you is about the tropical cyclone. It is the most devastating natural event of the region of Southeast Asia. In India, it is mostly from the Bay of the Bengal and Arabian Sea. It is generally formed in the pre or the post monsoon season. A period is marked by the copious torrential rain and the violent wind. With the help of the GIT, that is geo information technology, such as satellite imaginary system obtained through INSAT and other meteorological satellites, we get a vital information on the movement of the clouds. The speed and direction of the wind, it helps in the identification of the coming cyclone, predicting the weather condition thereafter. It provides an important information for issuing early warning to the people for evacuation and saving human life and movable properties which can be easy moved when you are cautioned before. A better tool for the national disaster management. Now the reason applies is the reason applies for the cyclones are the term cyclone is a rapid inverse circulation of the air, mass about the pressure center that is circulated counterclockwise in the northern hemisphere and clockwise in the southern hemisphere. The factor for the cyclones are sufficient warm temperature at the sea surface, the temperature getting warm, and thereby the convection occur in the seawater is not the human phenomena. It is by the celestial. Why only at a particular point? Why only at this area? Why only the pressure created at the one zone, not the other zone? Is the celestial, is a divine plan. Now, atmospheric, it leads to the atmospheric instability, and then the forces that develop, that water forces, that is deflection of the earth rotation. That is, the earth rotates in the direction. The deflection of the earth rotation creates a force that develops a low pressure. The low pressure causes the pressure, the other air from the hotter region, high pressure, to migrate or rush towards it. High humidity at a lower to the middle level at a troposphere, that is the low region, that is the region where human reside. By existing low level disturbances, water disturbance, and low vertical wind are the reason or the factor for causing the cyclone. And there are three types of the major cyclone. One is called as a tropical cyclone, that is the hurricanes which causes at the Atlantic and Northeast Pacific regions, and typhoons which comes at the Northwest Pacific region. Then there are polar cyclones, which are strong during the winter seasons, and mesocyclones that rises and rotate above around the vertical axis in the direction of the low pressure system. So these things, the mechanism, the temperature difference, it is the temperature difference, the pressure, the convection of the water in the body, the unusual celestial, that is factor, that is causes of the tropical, these type of cyclones. The other is flood inundation, that overflowing of the flood. The overflowing of the flood is also caused by it's very well seen in the river and the tributary experience at a high flood every year in the most part of the India, leading to the enormous loss due to damages of the human life, animal lives, crops, house, article of the home, industrial places, public work structure. The flood are mainly caused by having heavy downpour and beaches in the embankment. Now these floods are again, that is the overflow of the water beyond the prescribed limit of the river or any part from where the water flows. The reasons are for the flood are heavy rainfall, high melting of the snow and ice, failure of the water storage structure. What I called is one of the reasons is the dam. The dam accumulate water, it start overflowing it. It is the rainwater or the water left from the upper terranean, maybe from the Nepal or other countries, it get too much accumulated in the water, and then it overflows, leads into the flood. Changes in the divergence of the water bodies, what we have done, we have changed to. So the one theory that they are pondering about, that we will control the flood by linking so many of a river, has to be debated and think seriously before implementing it. The effect are number of the flood comes with number of incurable diseases, communicable, epidemic diseases. Not only that, it damages our infrastructure and the properties. It damages our biodiversity, flora and fauna both. It damages or contaminates our habitat. All the houses where the flood comes get destroyed, all the articles get destroyed. And also it upsets our agriculture planning. The crops, let us say, the kharif crop which are there in the field are all been washed out, has all been submerged by the flood water, leading to the enormous. Thus, how to be the human health also get affected, mainly because of the supply of the pure drinking water, molds or mildews at the home, mental health, danger of the reptile. You must have heard seen in the TV that crocodiles and large number of poisonous snakes are moving in this flood water. So these dangers are there. Infrastructure in the environment also get damaged. So there are various types of the flood that comes into existence. They are coastal floods, river floods, groundwater flood, then drainage or reverse flood, then flash flood. The flash flood is because of the cloud burst, and the cloud burst, all of a sudden, a pressure build, a temperature changes, causes the cloud burst. And also is the ice jam causing, but sometimes the glacier comes down and blocks it, causes the ice jam. So we should take a precaution before coming flood, during flood, and after flood by being vigilant and monitoring those principles. The second phenomena. Now, how can it be controlled? By the help of both optical radars, and remote sensing satellite, a model for estimation of the flood plan induation, overflowing, that is excess water, a GIS model help you to know the risk that is due to the occur of the flood. Later, image from a radar set, and that is coming flood can also be monitored. The flood also acts as a significant fluvial geomorphological changes and the stream changes. That is change, the living of the river course and other thing also got changed. The third condition which causes by the celestial body is a drought. Drought, as I told you, Mausim Ran and that is Cherrapunji has been shifted to other place. The place like Dubai and other Arabian countries, that is the African, this Asian country, uh, they had large number of dunes or a dust. Once upon a time, there were habitation, a very big habitation that has been turned into a desert by the course of time. So the environment keeps on changing, and that desert which has come down and developed into a petrol oil. Petrol oil is the petros means the rock. The oil is below the rock, or a diesel. Diesel is the one which is formed by the death of the living organism. That is called as a diesel. So those things has developed. So how do the drought come? Drought applies the shortage of water for the human population, agriculture, livestock, industry, etc. The water scarcity as most frequent natural disaster that affect our social and economical life of the million of the people world over. During during drought, normal hydrological water balance is broken, hydrological balance is broken. That causes severe reduction in the water availability and the soil moisture to a level below the minimum necessity for sustaining plant, animal, and human life. Prolonged drought changes the land use system.
Sir, we have to close
and causes 5 minutes, I'm going to control it. Prolonged drought changes the land usage system and causes aridity and desertification. Satellite imaging, GIS, and other remote sensing devices provide tools in the drought management activities of a small or a big watershed area. The reflection of electromagnetic radiation in the wavelength of R, that is red or infrared, and its correlation with the NDWI, that is normal difference of the water index, is established to understand the drought condition and to remove the problem coming thereafter. Similarly, landslide hazard also occur. The landslide hazards are evident during the rainy season. It is due to the unscientific over-exploitation of the natural resources and unplanned, unscientific modern development activities at the Himalayan region. All such development of the natural geohazard, the widespread landscape hazard, can be minimized by the proper disaster management by GIS, that is Geographical Information System, technique like an insert pan data on thereby making thermic map of the land cover. Lithological land reform structure, line pattern, soil drainage, hydrological slope angle, slope aspect, slope morphology, anthropogenic activities, and relative relief are the ways to control the landslide hazard. The need of the hour is to collect the GSI data and the temporal receipt sensing data for hazard management or for the only implementing the environmentally sound development scheme, befitting mountainous and ecosystem friendly control and planning. The last is the sometimes the snow avalanches come. The large amount of the snow comes down, it blocks the river. And the very important case, as you must have heard about it, that sometimes it blocks it and it can get converted into a big lake. So when this snow avalanches come, it has to be looked upon. Normally it occurs in the area where the population is less. Flash flood and cloud burst, I have explained it into a form, in one or the other form. Then the last is the volcano and tsunamis. The volcanoes and the tsunamis are again a celestial action. Indonesia experiences, or even certain part of the America experiences, the volcanoes that occurs causes tremendous of problem. I do have a time to speak upon it, or I shall sum up by saying that environment awareness has increased in the recent part. Now environment planners and managers uses various GIS and other artificial intelligence techniques befitting and suitable activity for and all the precautions measures necessary to control such calamities and hazard and to recognize the hazard zone so that we are able to monitor from the day one. Radiostat, STRM, EVstat, SAR, and inter-informato satellite analysis data help us to detect the changes in the terrain and generating digital evolutionary modules which would help us for the better disaster management and to fight against the menace created by the celestial bodies. Thank you very much. Now I'm open to the question what you want.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Yes, anybody would like to ask any questions?
None.
Okay, sir, then I think we can end. Thank you so much, sir. It was an interesting talk. And let's all join together in a closing prayer. Sarve bhavantu sukhina, sarve santu nirame, sarve bhadrani pashyantu, ma kaschit dukha bhav bhavet. Om Shanti Shanti.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good night.